Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hello Millie. And we're going to bring on my mom. And there she
Hi.
is.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Steve. Hi, everyone.
Good to see you again today.
Thank you. I
We
love
had
love to be here.
we had a very busy day today, taking care of all of our business, and then we saw you, and then I left, and then I came home, and you're home, and just in time to do the show.
Exactly.
We did it.
I'm going to have the tea. It's cooling now. I'll have it after the show.
Okay, I am having a new Lord Hobo beer that I got on the way home at Fenway, the Fenway Beer Store. It's called Juice Lord, and it's very nice. And I would describe it as soft and pillowy.
Ooh.
Really, really nice. They're expanding. It's pink, so it might be geared to women, you might say, but I think it's very, very nice, and it's now in the main line of beers, joining all the other beers that they have: Boom Sauce, Hobo Life, Angelica, 617.
It's good. Good.
Carol tried it; she liked it.
Hey.
So, cheers to a new beer. Cheers to you, Mom. So let's get going with the show. And the show is around my friend Jen Zlotnick, who wrote a book called 23 Things I Wish I Could Ask My Mom and Dad Today. And Mom, you have the book right there, right?
Yes, I do. There it is.
Yep. So each week we pick a question to go through. And what question do you have this week?
Okay, here's my question. What was the time when you had to stand up for yourself? That sounds like a tough one.
Yes.
I stuck to it and I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, something else came into my mind. So I'll tell you talk about the best ones that I found, and if we have time left, I'll do the others too.
Okay. Let's hear it. Go for it.
All right. Well, the first thing I thought about was, at one point I had a job. I kept changing jobs when I was a young person, living at home with my parents. I didn't have to worry about didn't I work. I was comfortable. They were taking care of me. So if I left a job, it was okay. So I went without a salary for a while. So this is the attitude I worked with. So I get a job, and I loved the people I was working with. It was a large office and great young people. So I really enjoyed it. And I was only there a short time when I had an opportunity to go on a special vacation. And this was a tough place with a tough boss. The people that worked there were nice and easy, but the boss was tough. And I still remember the day I got out of my seat. I can see myself walking into her office because I was going to ask for a week's vacation. And I had just been there a short time. And I know she's a tough lady. But I walked, and I was a kid then. I wasn't nervy. I didn't think I was nervy. So I walked in. And I think I was pretty direct, and I told her I have an opportunity for a vacation that's coming up, such and such a date, and I would like the time off. And she didn't hesitate one bit. She said, fine, go ahead, Millie, enjoy yourself. Well, I just remember that like it was yesterday.
Wow.
I thought she was going to give me a hard time.
You were all nervous about what might happen.
That's right. But deep down, I really didn't care because I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't enjoy the job, but I enjoyed the people, and I liked the vacation. So I took a chance because I wanted to go on that vacation.
So did you ask for paid time off or non-paid?
I didn't ask. No, because I was only there a short time. I wasn't entitled to a paid vacation. I
Right.
for just a few months. I was just glad that that was her attitude. But if she had said, "No way, you're new here, you have to show up or else," but no, she said, "Okay, go have a good time." So that was one of the times I asserted myself.
That's very interesting because one thing that I learned to do when, like, if I went from one job to another, if you're in a job for a long period of time, you accumulate vacation.
Yes.
So as you're there, you get a few days, and you'll have a week and maybe 2 weeks,
Right.
and then you would start a new job. You start with nothing again.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
every year I would take a vacation. So one time when I switched jobs, they were offering me the job, and I wanted to accept it. And I says, well, I'd like to accept this job, but I want you to know I have a vacation planned, and it's coming up on this date, and it's a week away, and I would like to have that week off, not paid. And they said, okay, fine.
Okay.
So-
It was all right. You have to ask.
You have to ask. Yep.
Well, that's what I found out. I asked and it was okay. So
Yep, that's great.
That was a relief. And the other thing was, this is another little one. When I started blogging, I probably was in my 70s at the time, and I'm doing it every Sunday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Somehow that time just worked right for me. It was quiet. I didn't have to rush out of the house, so I spent my time, and I knew what I was going to write about, and it was going well. The only trouble was I wasn't getting any comments. Here I am working away in my leisure. I was enjoying it, but it was odd. No one found me.
Right.
So what I did, finally, I wrote a post and I said, "Is anyone out there? I'm a 76-year-old lady and I'd like to get some comments." And the comments started coming. Little by little, now that they knew my age and understood where I was coming from, it was okay. So because I wrote that sentence in my blog, I progressed. In the end, I had quite a few readers. So that was a good thing. And the other thing, then there was a big one here. Oh, what was the other one?
Do you want me to go? Do you want me to go and tell one?
You go ahead. You tell your thing, and then maybe it'll come to me. Go ahead.
So my thing is, I went down to Austin, Texas every year for years and years and years to the South by Southwest conference, right, Ma?
Yes.
Yep. And I'm gonna share over here one thing that I really, really liked over there. I'll share it over here so you can see. And what this was an acting workshop.
Oh.
Yep. So, I would go to all the sessions that were related to things I did. Video production, social media, all those things. But I also like to go to things that were outside of things that I would normally do to learn more and expand my knowledge. So I always went to this Jeffrey Tambor acting workshop. And I loved it. I must have gone there 7 years in a row. And what he did, he taught acting. And so he brought two young people up on stage, and he would show the audience how he taught acting. So you would sit there and you would learn how the actors learned from him. So he gave them lines that they had to memorize, and they would go up on stage, and then he would say, "Okay, do the scene," and they'd do the scene. And it was a scene where maybe the guy and the girl, he came in, late, and she's like, "Where have you been?" And he was out drinking, and it was like a confrontation. And they'd do the scene, and he'd say, "Okay, now," he would try and get them to learn how to act more and show more emotion. and he would say to the girl, one time I remember he said to the girl, did you go to Catholic school? And she said, yes, I did. He said, you're a rule follower? She's like, yes, I am. He's like, you're too nice. He's like, your personality is to be nice. So when the husband in the scene comes home drunk and stuff, you're okay, all right, it'll get better, it's not a big deal. He's like, I don't want you to be you. Like, what you're doing is acting, and it's not, what was your family life like? And he would go, he was like a therapy session, and she'd like, oh, I always did what I was told. She went to Catholic school. She never had confrontations, and he said, well, acting is not you. He said, I give you permission to, get mad and get angry and be this certain way. He's like, do the scene again. So then the boy and the girl did the scene, and she got, more emotional. It worked. That's how he did it. He found out what the person was like, and it gave them permission to be, bigger and more, and, have more emotion. And she was crying, and oh my God, the people in the audience couldn't believe what was happening, but it transformed the work and the acting. So that made a big impression on me. And what was really funny is that night after that workshop down in South by Southwest at night, you would go to different bars and things in the hotels, and then you'd line up and you'd get in line. So some of my friends were at this one hotel, and I was getting in line to go in to meet them. So you had to wait in line until some people went out, and then you could go in. You know what I mean? So I was next to go in line, and I was standing there, and some people came from the sidewalk, walked all the way up, stepped in front of me, and they wanted to go next. So normally, in my own personality, I would not be confrontational. As I was, brought up by you and Dad, it would be kind of like, okay, well, I'll just stand back, and I'm not going to get involved in things. That's me. That's how I am. I'm not going to cause any problems. But I just saw the acting workshop, and the guy stood in front of me, and I said, excuse me, I've been waiting in line here a half hour. You cannot cut.
Yay!
And they left.
Oh.
And the people left. And that was totally that was not me, but I felt like he gave me permission to not be like myself, of not being confrontational, but to be able to say, you can't cut this line. I've been standing here, and they left. And I was like, oh my God, that worked.
That's a good story. That's a good lesson.
Yep.
Excellent.
That was fantastic. I think of that often.
Oh, that's a good one. While you were talking, I remembered what the other story I was going to tell. And this was one that when it happened, I didn't realize how important it was what I was doing. I was very active in Hadassah. I was on the phone a lot at home. I couldn't leave the house too much because Steve was a kid, and he would come home for lunch from school in the middle of the day. So I couldn't go take a job. I had to be home for the kid for lunch. So I found Hadassah as a very good outlet for me. I could be productive, and I had enthusiasm, and I met people. So that was working out good. And then I got a position with Hadassah in a fundraising capacity, donor dinner chairman. Well, that's a big job. The president is big, the vice president is big, and next in line is the donor chairman, because their responsibility is to raise a lot of money. And there were quotas, there were ranges to help you know what you had to aim for. Okay, so I have girls who go to fill an ad book, and they have to go to call the company or the physician, the lawyer, whoever, to ask for a donation and so much for a quarter of a page, so much for half a page. And it was a difficult thing to get the girls to do that. For some reason, I didn't have any trouble because I raised a lot of money myself. And if an incentive was that if you raised so much money, you could have a guest. Because if you raised $50 or $100, you were entitled to have one guest and she didn't have to pay. You didn't have to pay because you earned the money. So one year, I remember I must have had 4 guests. I earned so much money. And I liked doing it. It was fine. But my trouble was I couldn't get new girls to go out and do it. And so I don't think I thought about it too much, but one thing I thought was, they have to know how to do this. You just can't go in cold and say, hey, we have an ad book, I need a half a page and so much money. You can't do it that way. So what I decided to do was make a skit. And I got girls who were willing to participate in the skit. They liked it. It was fun. So it was so successful in my particular Hadassah group. Somehow national or regional heard about the skit that I had done, and they invited me and my fellow bloggers, no, my fellow Hadassah people. No, this is way before blog. Anyway, they invited us to come as a group and perform the show that I had put together. And I think we went someplace in Connecticut. So it was a big deal because I didn't appreciate what a big deal that was then. But we went down to Connecticut and it went off very well. And I got a few more new girls. It wasn't that successful getting the people to take action, but I got the interest. And it opened up the door for new people. And that season the group took in a lot of money. For whoever I got, they were hard workers, and it was successful. So that's my story about making a move and doing something. Did you hear that story, Steve?
Yeah, I've heard that story. Yeah, I've heard it.
So that's the way that one went. And then there's a little one where the same company, getting back to the company that I asked for the vacation from, there was a family event, an important event that was taking place in Chicago. And my parents were invited to go to Chicago, and this was a big thing. In those days, the people weren't flying around like they fly today. And my father, we're going to Chicago. And I was working, and there was a time frame that was conflicting because we were going to catch a plane at a certain time. So I couldn't do it because I was working. So again, I had to go into the office and ask the lady to tell her, not to ask her, but to tell her that I needed to leave the office at 1 p.m. because I have this big event.
Wow.
And she said, you cannot do that. If I let you do that, that's not a good thing because this is a big office and other people are going to ask me the same. So you cannot leave the office. So I said to her, I have an important event and I am leaving at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Goodbye. And she never fired me and she never said a bad thing when I went to Chicago.
Wow. That's a big one.
Yeah, that was something because by that time I really liked the people I was working with. So I didn't want to lose the job then, but I had to go to. I was flower girl, a bridesmaid at the Chicago. I went to a special person to make me a special gown for this wedding. I had to go, so I went.
Wow.
Yep. So that's my story.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, these are some good stories. To wrap it up, I think what I'm going to do is call you on the phone.
What about Aaron's story?
And Well, I mean, she told 4 stories.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to call her on the phone now. Make sure her phone's working, because that's our thing today. Let's make sure the phone works.
Right. Yes, it's ringing. Thank you. It's ringing. Now I can sleep comfortably.
All right. Thanks for the show, and we'll see you again.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Okay.
Carol, thanks for being my background dancer. Good job, Carol.